Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Lesson on Classics. This is episode number 1844 and Doubleshot number 1738. I have two Daredevil trades. One, the collect issues that came out back in the late 90s. This is, of course, Daredevil Epic Collection that will come back in the 70s. First up, it's Daredevil Epic Collection, Volume 21, Widow's Kiss. Yes, this book contains issues 365 380 of the first volume. The final, get this, the final 16 issues of this volume before I got relaunched. Negative number 1 and the Daredevil / Deadpool annual. Fun fact for this annual, this was the last Daredevil annual published for 10 years. Yes, 10 years later is when they finally released another volume for another annual for this one. These are your rated for issues. We have Joe Kelly, Scott Lobdell, D.G. Custer, who actually has the final issue in here. He does not do anything else. We also have Ben Rabb, Jonathan Brennan, and Chris Claremont. Yes. The first several issues in here deal with basically Daredevil versus Multiman. Because it involves Liz Allen, Multiman is here. And this later leads into something with Mr. Fear, which is a storyline that pretty much consumes like the rest of this era for Daredevil, which is a Daredevil era I really enjoy. And this basically leads into issue 375, where, by the way, there's also a subplot here with the Black Widow, where the thing with her is that Daredevil is obsessed with her for some reason, despite the fact he does have a girlfriend, Karen Page. And the whole thing with Black Widow acting out of character in this book is mainly due to the death of the Avengers. That was mainly the reason for it, though she got better. Don't worry about that. And she's not wearing that weird 90s outfit. Though I think Mr. Fear will culminate in issue 375, where Karen Page is put on trial for a crime she had committed. Now, this was probably, I can think of, probably the first trial I can think of that Matt Murdock has taken part of in history of the book, because a lot of the time when I read the book, he doesn't usually do trials. There's never been a trial before. This was the first time. And this was a double-sized issue. Yes, seriously, a double-sized issue. Issue number 275. Well, 375, excuse me. And this is basically the culmination of like pretty much everything that had been going in the book since issue like around 370. Yeah, this was simply basically dealing with that. It just really good stuff here. Actually, for like several issues straight, basically it's like this, where Daredevil is apparently like... Now, in the case of 275, these are your artists for this issue. Like, there's a lot of artists. You have basically two writers. You have Joe Kelly and Chris Claremont. The artwork here is done by Chris Nord, Mary Libikia, Ariel Avati, Pierre Barlow, John Paul Leon, Tom Lyle, Robert Jones, Brian Dunson, Carl Clarkson, Rick Nardi, and Scott Hanna. Yep. There's also something here with Rosalind Sharp, where she actually didn't have really anything against basically Liz Allen, but this leads and stuff with Multiman. And then we have appearance by Elektra, because of course Elektra. I think at this point, this is the first one Elektra appeared in the book since like Fall from Grace. And here she's back to her normal Frank Miller attire. A personal favorite of mine. I love the Frank Miller design for the suit. And after all the investigating and beating up bad guys, eventually, of course, Karen Page is left the hook for murder and with the help of the Black Widow. Excuse me. Able to get off. And there's a great finale to this era. And the way this issue ends, that could have been the end of the series. Basically how that was written. Nope, not the case. Oh, by the way, Matt Murdock also runs into Wilson Fisk in the storyline. Does this lead to anything with him? Not really, per se. And then, for some reason, I have no idea why this is. This was basically so really abrupt. Like, have a good ending, and then we have this Flying Blind story that takes up issues 376, 379. It's a 4-part story. We have Daredevil, suffering amnesia, and wearing this stupid costume. Yes. Well, he's got amnesia, and he's in Paris, and we find out he's an agent for S.H.I.E.L.D., and I'm kind of like, what the hell? What the heck is this? Like, this is bad. Oh my gosh, this is really bad. Thank God this storyline was only 4 issues. Yep, 4 issues this storyline was. And yeah, this may have been this Marvel when they did the storyline. My guess is either Liddell himself. I've never asked Liddell about this story, but if I get a chance to ask him about it, I'm like, what the heck was up with this flying blind story? And it started with basically Daredevil suffering amnesia. And he's of all places, Paris. Yes, he's in Paris. Why the heck is he in Paris? Don't really know. Investigating something. This up with the Kingpin. Eventually, by 379, it's completely wrapped up. But here's the thing. It doesn't really go into great. It's a very bland story. I have nothing against Scott Liddell's writing. I love the artwork. The artwork is not bad for the story. Oh yeah, he's fighting a bunch of ninjas. Also, he's got jet black hair for some reason. He's teaming with a black woman. I'm like, okay. And there's stuff here with Foggy Nelson, who's taken by Ox of all people. You talk to him, and eventually he's taken by S.H.I.E.L.D. He does bring it to like, hey, I used to be DA of New York. And the S.H.I.E.L.D. is like, yeah, we know. And he shows him on the freaking aircraft carrier. Like, Daredevil, where were this outfit here? At least put on the freaking mask. Yeah, and then for some reason he's attacked by the freaking Stiltman. Yes, seriously. They bring in the Stiltman in here. And then here's Wilson Fisk. I'm kind of like, wow, this artwork is not good on him. Yeah, this is probably by far the worst artwork I've ever seen. Yeah, so Daredevil is not remember fighting Wilbur Day before. Yes, seriously, this. Yeah. How can you forget something like Wilbur Day, aka the frickin' Stiltman? Yeah, eventually he does get his memory back. Oh, by the way, here's some really bad artwork here for you. We have Wilson Fisk looking over top of his freaking chest. I'm like, what the heck is this? This is, like I said, so bad. Oh my gosh. It's like I think Marvel must have realized, though, that, yeah, this story was a terrible idea. Like, I'm sure the Marvel fans may have realized, though, oh yeah, this storyline was bad. Hey, can we please have Daryl back in New York wearing his regular costume? Not this piece of bullcrap. Yeah, 280, and then we finally get the 380. The final issue of this volume. Which, by the way, DB Custer came back at this run for his first time issue 344. Yeah, he basically did Alan Smithy issues. Yep, this is simply Daryl returned to New York, back to form. You could say this is basically, this whole issue is mostly an apology for the previous few issues. And, like, my guess is Marvel decided, probably at the time of the Flying Blind story, or at least maybe prior to that, like, this book is selling really bad, but we don't want to cancel it. So, the best way to save it, hit that restart button. But here's the thing. At this point in time, it was okay to do this because it was rare this ever happened. Nowadays, it's a regular occurrence. Aside from an apology, it's like, oh yeah, it's basically Daredevil back to business. And, well, yeah, and of course I'm finding Bullseye again, which is so nice. And yeah, that's simply it for this volume. Well, not exactly per se, because, well, there is still technically, like, well, more trades to review, but this also is going to be the last Epic Collection review for Daredevil for quite a while. And the reason for that? Because I'm out of Epic Collection. Most of the stuff here is really good. I think the Flying Blind story is probably the weakest thing part of this trade here. But it's necessary. By the way, this storyline itself is never mentioned ever again. Nope. This Mr. Fear may have mentioned. But here's the thing. Right after this Flying Blind story and this standalone issue wrapped up, we had the relaunch of Daredevil. We had the first #1 for Daredevil released since 1963. Excuse me, actually since 1964. Yep. And First, we had Kevin Smith of the run, which I have talked about the Guardian Devil storyline. And then we had Dave Mack issues, which had debut of Echo. And then we had the Ramon Bendis issues, with, of course, him skipping some issues. Yeah, we have his era, though he skips 2 story arcs. Yeah, he skips 2. The first one by Random Raider, which, by the way, for years, that storyline was never collected in trade until Daredevil Usual Suspects to collect that, plus a bunch of miniseries that came out around the same period of time. And right now I'm getting very close to Ramon Bendis' run to move on to Baker's run. But yeah, then moving on to Daredevil, Masterworks Daredevil Volume 11. This continues issues 108 to 113 and Marvel 2 and number 3. Why is Marvel 2 and number 3? Because basically it leads to an issue of Daredevil. Now, we do have Steve Gerber as pretty much the main writer for these issues. We do have these guys as the co-writer for these issues. Chris Claremont, Jerry Conway, and Terry Isabella. 118, I believe this was the final issue Jerry Conway ever did for the book, because to my knowledge, he's never returned to the book at all. And, well, yeah, basically 117 was definitely the finale of Steve Gerber's very brief run he had for the book. Chris Claremont did 1 issue. Yeah, he basically co-wrote Steve Gerber's last issue he wrote for the book. And then he started the very brief run that is Tony Isabella's run. Yes, Tony Isabella. If you don't know who this guy is, this is the guy who created Black Lightning. Yes, seriously. You already finished for issues 108, 109, 111, 113, 115, 117, 119 is done by Bob Brown. Most everything else is done by Gene Colan, Don Heck, and Sal Buscema. By the way, the Marvel 2 issue that comes after issue 109. Yes, seriously. So, in the opening issue, we have Foggy Nelson who's been injured, and Daredevil fights the Beetle. Yes, the Beetle, who at this point I think was dumped in Spider-Man books to be a Spider-Man villain, though he would pop up in other books like Avengers. Yep. Though, basically, I think Steve Gerber, basically kind of in a way, was leading the way to end the relationship between Black Widow and of course, Daredevil. Prior to the end of these issues, prior to the end of the Steve Gerber run, they got evicted from the mansion they were living in for quite a while. Yep, and of course, Moondragon's here, and of course, they fly back to New York. And by the way, Matt meets first time Foggy's parents and his sister. For some reason, the colorist basically had her haircut look like this. For some reason. And by the way, her name is Candace, by the way. Yes, Candace. And then later on, they had, her become like a regular blonde. Yep, and after that one issue where he fights, the Beetle, he ends up fighting a woman named Akira, who, by the way, was actually, prior to this, had just made her debut in Shaun of the She-Devil number 5. Yes. Yeah, and this is basically during a brief period of time where Shaun of the She-Devil was a recurring character in the pages of Daredevil of all things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course they go into Nakura's backstory, and then we also meet the Mandrill. Yes, the Mandrill. By the way, there is a character pop up issues which I kind of forgot he made his debut here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which we have this thing called the Black Spectre. And that actually made its debut back in 108. They were basically a criminal organization which they sporadically appeared over the years. Like, after they wrapped up the storyline here with issue 112, they were not seen again until Marvel Eyes of the Camera issue 2. Yes, they wrapped the storyline with issue, like I said, with 112, which came out in 1974. The next appearance, Marvel Eyes of Camera, number 2. That came back in 2009. Yes, 2009. The next time period in Daredevil was issue 6 of Volume 3 from Mark Waid's run for the book. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, Yeah. And basically, issue 5 was her debut. For some reason, on the cover for the issue 5, she's colored black, and then for some reason, they changed her skin color to chalk white for some reason. They go to her backstory, and this issue, I believe it was next issue, by the way. No, it was not this issue. He actually gave me the previous issue before that one. We have Mandrill. Yes, seriously. It's almost like these issues here were meant to be sort of a semi-continuation of the Shaun of the She-Devil issues. Yeah, that's pretty much what this few issues were from 110 to 112. That was basically just a way to wrap up the storyline itself. And I believe Steve Gerber himself was the one who wrote Shaun of the She-Devil. Yeah, he was the writer for the book, so he figured though, okay, so Wakan's book has low sales, so let's continue my plot thread. Let's wrap up basically my series in this book here. It's probably canceled low sales. So they continue here. And we also have a crossover with basically issue 3 of Marvel Toon 1, which they included here, which thank God they did. Yeah, and then this kind of leads into stuff related to Daredevil. Yeah, the thing is also leads to the first time you met Shaun of the She-Devil. Yep. By 112, this whole storyline is completely wrapped up. Yeah, by 112, that's when they wrap up the storyline. It's really good. But they skip 111 for the storyline. Yes. Why, you might ask? Because it's the debut of a character. I knew he made his debut here, mostly. Yeah, apparently for some reason he made his debut as part of the Black Spectre. Yes, for some reason they did. I have no idea why or what it is for. Yes, for some reason, this is the debut of a character associated with Wolverine, of all people. The Silver Samurai. Yeah, this was his debut. And that is how he looked in his debut appearance. I'm like, wow. Yeah. By the way, his next appearance after this will be Marvel Team at number 57. Yeah, one of two characters associated with Wolverine make the debut pages of Daredevil. The other, of course, being Lady Deathstrike. Yes. So, yeah, he works here with them for like one issue, and that was it. He's not seen again for a few years. By 112, that's when they wrap up the story, and of course deals with... Yeah. And then we have some issues with the Gladiator. Yeah, he's here for a few issues. And he goes to Florida. Yes, he goes to Florida. Why, you might ask? To meet the Man-Thing. Of course, the Man-Thing. All also added into freaking Gladiator. And we just got Deathstalker, and then we have Man-Thing just pop up. Yeah. And here's the thing with Man-Thing. This is a character he created. Yes, this is a character that Steve Gerber himself created with Jerry Conway. And this was his previous appearance prior to this one was back in Master of Kung Fu, issue number 19. Yeah. Which came only like a month prior to this one. And that was about Steve Eckelhart. Now, did this basically continue some stuff related to Daredevil in here? It did. And of course, they brought back the Deathstalker in here, which he had not been seen since issue 41 of Daredevil. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they bring it back in here. This was the first time since 1968. Of course, this issue came out in 1974, roughly about 6 years later. Yeah. I'm going to have to basically pause it here when it comes to talking about these issues, but I'm going to continue this later. I'm going to finish up talking about Masterworks Daredevil because I have to go because dinner. Yeah. Next video. Bye.